I feel like my entire family has turned against me for trying to protect my sister from my abusive ex-boyfriend. He put me in the hospital twice, but now they're dating, and my parents are acting like I'm the problem for objecting. Am I the idiot for refusing to support this relationship? Okay, so for some background. So I, female, 23, dated this guy, let's call him Derek, for about a year and a half until 14 months ago. The relationship was really messed up. He got really controlling about who I talked to and where I went, and it got physical twice. The first time I ended up with a concussion that kept me in the hospital overnight. I told everyone I fell downstairs because I was embarrassed. The second time was worse. He threw a glass at me during a fight, and I needed stitches on my arm and face. That's when I finally broke up with him and moved back home to finish college. My sister Amy, female, 25, has always been the favorite. She's the one who gets bailed out of everything, while I'm expected to figure my own shit out. She got fired from her office job about 8 months ago and has been living at home with our parents ever since. Meanwhile, I'm working campus jobs and taking out loans because apparently that builds character or whatever. Our family is pretty much that my dad, male, 52, thinks he's the boss of everyone, and if you question his decisions, he threatens to cut off college money or kick you out. My mom, male, 49, hates dealing with conflict, so she just doesn't. She'll talk through other people or pretend problems don't exist until they go away. And I've always been labeled as the difficult one whenever I won't just shut up and move on from stuff. So anyway, last Tuesday, I come home from my campus job around 7 p.m. expecting a normal night. I walk into the kitchen and there's Derek sitting at our kitchen table with Amy and both my parents. Just sitting there. Before I could even say anything, my dad jumps in and tells me we need to have a mature conversation before I start causing problems. I'm like, what the actual fuck is happening right now? Amy immediately starts talking about how people change and everyone deserves second chances, and how Derek has been working on himself and going to therapy or whatever. I tried to explain, probably not very calmly, that this is the guy who put me in the hospital, twice. But Dad cuts me off and says if I'm going to cause problems over this, it could affect my housing situation and college funding. He literally threatened me in front of Derek. The whole dinner was this nightmare where Derek is sucking up to my parents, asking Dad about his work, telling Mom her casserole is amazing. It wasn't. Mom's cooking has always been mediocre, but whatever. Amy announces they've been official for a few weeks and that he reached out through LinkedIn when he was making amends to people he'd hurt. My parents are eating it up. When I brought up the abuse again, Amy started crying, of course, and said I never forgive anyone for anything and that I'm still holding grudges from over a year ago. Mom immediately runs to comfort her, while Dad tells me this is exactly why nobody can talk to me about anything serious. Derek offers to leave to give the family space, but my parents tell him to stay. The next morning, I tried talking to Mom alone while she was doing dishes. She says she already talked to Dad, and they decided to give him a chance because Amy needs support right now after losing her job. When I pushed about the hospital incidents, Mom admits she feels awful about not doing more back then. But then she says that's exactly why she can't fail Amy again by rejecting her choice. She said Dad already decided they'll support this because Amy is fragile right now, and Derek really seems to understand what she needs. I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? He understands she needs someone to pay for everything while she figures her life out. Here's the thing that really gets me though. I got suspicious about their timeline, so I checked Amy's social media. I know, but I needed to see. There are photos from 6 weeks ago of them at restaurants together. So this whole few weeks thing is complete bullshit. Plus, I found comments from him on our family photos going back months before he supposedly reached out. But when I brought this up to my parents, Dad said I was obsessing and needed to move forward instead of looking for problems. Mom just said she wasn't going to police Amy's social media, and that maybe the timing doesn't matter if Amy is happy. It's been 2 weeks since that nightmare dinner, and I honestly don't know what to do here. I feel like I'm going crazy. This is the guy who gave me a concussion and needed 12 stitches on my face. And my family is acting like I'm the unreasonable one for not wanting him at Sunday dinners. Amy keeps posting these gross lovey-dovey photos, and my parents are liking every single one. Am I the idiot for refusing to support this relationship? Everyone's telling me I need to move on and let people change, but but I feel like I'm the only one who remembers what actually happened. Edit. Since so many are asking, yes, I did try talking to other family members, but my parents control what information gets shared with our extended family. My grandparents live 3 states away and only hear what my parents tell them, which is apparently that I'm having trouble adjusting to Amy's new relationship. To those suggesting I should have called the police during my original relationship, I was 21 and scared and honestly didn't think anyone would believe me. The hospital staff never asked direct questions about my injuries, and I was too embarrassed to volunteer the information. I know that was probably stupid, but I was young and thought I could handle it myself. Now for the first update. Things got worse since my last post, and I'm starting to understand how deep this whole thing goes. You guys were right about my family not letting this go. It's been 3 months since Derek and my sister Amy made things official, and honestly, I thought maybe things would calm down after the initial mess. I was so wrong. So last Tuesday, I'm upstairs trying to study for my econ midterm, and I hear my dad talking on the phone in the kitchen. Usually I just ignore it, because it's normally just dad complaining about work stuff or mom talking to her book club friends. But this time, I hear him saying something about venue deposits, and we can handle the catering if we spread it over 2 credit cards. I'm like, what the hell? We're not exactly rolling in money here. My parents have always been weird about finances, but they've never been the type to just casually drop thousands on stuff. So I go downstairs and I'm like, hey dad, is money tight right now? I heard you talking about credit cards. And he immediately gets all pissy with me, just straight up tells me it's none of my business what they spend money on. Which is already weird because my parents usually overshare about every little expense when they're lecturing me about responsibility or whatever. When I kept pushing, probably should have just dropped it, but I was genuinely confused, my mom finally breaks down and admits they've been helping pay for Amy's wedding because apparently my sister deserves happiness and has been through so much losing her job. I'm standing there like, what about me being through stuff? But whatever. Then my dad adds that Derek convinced them he's starting some landscaping business and will pay them back once it gets going. I was so angry. This is the same guy who threw a glass at my face, but sure, let's invest in his business dreams. 2 weeks later, I'm coming home from my statistics class, and my mom is sorting mail all over the kitchen counter. I accidentally knock the pile over helping her, and while we're picking stuff up, I see this credit card statement. And guys, it was bad. Like really bad. There's charges from Elegant Affairs Catering for $3,200 and White Rose Venue for $2,800, plus a bunch of other wedding vendor stuff I don't even recognize. I'm looking at this statement thinking there has to be some mistake. So I confront my mom about it and she just completely breaks down, starts crying and admits they've put most of the wedding costs on credit cards. Then she tells me they also took out a small loan when the cards maxed out. A loan. My parents have never taken loans for anything except the house and their cars. She keeps saying Derek promised to pay everything back in 2 years once his business takes off. I'm like, Mom, this sounds exactly like the kind of manipulation he used on me. That's when my dad overhears from the living room and absolutely loses it on me, starts yelling about how I'm ruining everything good that happens to Amy and I need to stop poisoning every family conversation. The worst part is I'm realizing this explains why my parents have been so weird about money lately. Like last month when I asked if they could help with my textbook costs, and Dad went into this whole lecture about learning to budget. Meanwhile, they're apparently going into debt for Derek's princess wedding. But wait, it gets worse. Way worse. So yesterday, my parents call me into the living room for what my dad calls a family meeting. Already know this is going to be bad, because he has his prepared speech voice on. He starts talking about family investments and how sometimes you have to support the people you love even when others don't understand. Then he basically threatens me, says I need to support or get out, and that if I keep causing problems, it's going to affect my living situation. Again, I'm so tired of them holding housing over my head every time I don't just shut up and smile. That's when I kind of lost it and said maybe I should call our extended family and let them know what's really going on with the money situation. My grandparents would absolutely lose their minds if they knew my parents were going into debt for Derek's wedding. And that's when Amy just breaks down, starts sobbing and blurts out that she's 8 weeks pregnant. 8 weeks, pregnant. Everything just clicked into place. The rushed relationship timeline, the sudden wedding planning, why my parents are so desperate to make this work. My sister is pregnant with Derek's baby, and they're all acting like this is some romantic love story instead of a complete disaster. My parents immediately go into full protection mode. My mom starts talking about how they need to get the wedding done before Amy shows, and my dad announces that the pregnancy makes their future grandson's security their top priority. Then he basically calls me selfish for not understanding that family comes first. I'm sitting there thinking, I am family. I'm your daughter too. But apparently wanting to protect my sister from a guy who hospitalized me makes me the villain here. Oh, and here's something fun I found out from my roommate yesterday. Wedding invitations went out 2 weeks ago. The ceremony is in 4 weeks. 4 weeks. My roommate's family knows our family through church, and she mentioned that her parents were asking why I wasn't helping with wedding planning. So, not only am I completely cut out of family decisions, but now it looks like I'm just being a shitty sister who can't be bothered to help. My parents are controlling the whole narrative and making me look like the problem to everyone we know. I honestly don't know what to do here. It's like I'm watching my family destroy themselves financially and emotionally for a guy who I know is going to hurt my sister. And now there's going to be a baby involved, a baby with Derek as the father. I keep thinking about how my mom said she felt awful about not doing more when Derek was abusing me. But apparently the solution to that guilt is to enable him to do it to someone else. It makes no sense. And the money thing is just insane. My parents are going into debt to pay for a wedding to a guy who put their other daughter in the hospital. How is that logic working for them? I don't know. I just feel like I'm going crazy, and everyone keeps telling me I need to be supportive and move forward. But how do you move forward when you're watching the same nightmare happen all over again and no one will listen? Edit. 1. To everyone asking if I have anywhere else to stay, I'm looking into campus housing options, but it's expensive, and my parents know I can't afford it without their help, which is exactly why they keep threatening me with it. 2. Since people are wondering about the timeline, yes, the pregnancy timing means she was probably pregnant before they even told the family they were dating, which makes the whole "he reached out to make amends" story even more bullshit. 3. For those suggesting I call my grandparents or other family, my parents have always controlled what information gets shared with extended family, so I'd basically be causing major problems and probably lose access to everyone, not just my parents. 4. Yes, I know how this looks from the outside, and yes, I know my sister is probably going to get hurt, but I'm realizing there's literally nothing I can do to stop it, and trying is just getting me cut out of everything. Now for the second update. You guys were right that things would get worse, but honestly, I don't think any of us saw this coming. It's been about 6 weeks since my last post, and I'm basically homeless now, so yeah, that happened. I know some of you warned me that my family would choose my sister over me, but I guess I thought there was still some line they wouldn't cross. Spoiler alert, there wasn't. So the wedding happened 2 weeks after my last update, 4 weeks from planning to actual ceremony, which should have been red flag number like 847 at this point, but whatever. I knew I obviously wasn't invited or wanted there, so I picked up extra shifts at my campus job that Saturday. Figured I'd rather be making money than sitting around thinking about it. I came home around 8 p.m. expecting the house to be empty since the reception was supposed to go until 10. But nope. There's leftover flowers everywhere, cake boxes on the counter, and my mom's voice coming from the answering machine in the kitchen. She left this long, rambling message about what a beautiful day it was and how Amy looked radiant and Derek was so emotional during his vows. The whole message was just gross. Like she's talking about some perfect wedding instead of my sister marrying the guy who gave me a concussion. But then it gets worse, because she starts talking about how several family friends asked where I was and they had to make up some story about me being too busy with school. She said they felt embarrassed, having to explain my absence, and that she hopes I can forgive and be part of their new family happiness. I'm standing there listening to this bullshit thinking, you're embarrassed. You're embarrassed that people asked why your other daughter wasn't at the wedding. Maybe think about why that happened, instead of being mad at me for making you look bad. But anyway, I figured okay, they had their stupid wedding. Maybe things will calm down now. Maybe we can all just exist separately and not deal with each other for a while. I was so naive. 2 weeks later, so this past Wednesday, my phone rings at 11:47 p.m. It's Amy. I almost didn't answer because honestly, what could she possibly want to say to me at midnight? But something made me pick up. She's immediately sobbing, like can barely get words out sobbing. And the first thing she says is, "You were right about him." My stomach just dropped. I fucking knew what was coming next. Amy told me that Derek lost his temper during a fight about money, specifically about why his second business loan application got denied. She said she suggested maybe asking our parents for more help since they'd already invested so much, and that's when he grabbed her shoulders and shoved her into their bathroom doorframe. She's got a bruise on her shoulder, and she's scared, and she asked if she can maybe stay at the family house for a few days without telling our parents what really happened. Just say they're having some adjustment issues or whatever. And guys, I lost it. I completely fucking lost it. 14 months. 14 months of being called a liar and a troublemaker and vindictive and unable to forgive. 14 months of watching my parents go into debt to throw a wedding for the guy who put me in the hospital. 14 months of being threatened with homelessness every time I tried to warn them. I told her she chose this. I said she chose this when she called me a liar in front of them. I told her she convinced our parents to max out credit cards and take out loans to marry someone who I told her was dangerous. I said she wanted the princess wedding so badly that she decided my actual lived experience was just me being crazy for attention. I wasn't nice about it. I said her tears now don't erase months of her treating me like I was making it all up for attention. I told her she got exactly what she picked. And now she wants me to clean up the mess and pretend it wasn't completely predictable. She went completely silent. Then she hung up. I tried calling back about an hour later because I was starting to feel bad about how harsh I'd been, but my number was blocked, of course. The next morning, I wake up to a text from my dad. He said Amy told them about the cruel, heartless things I said when she reached out for help in her darkest moment. He said until I learned to support family instead of attacking vulnerable people, I'm not welcome at family events. I'm like, attacking vulnerable people. I'm the one who was attacked by the same guy who just attacked her. But apparently pointing that out makes me the villain now. I figured maybe they'd cool off after a few days like they usually do. So yesterday, Sunday, I show up for dinner like normal, except my key doesn't work. The locks have been changed. My mom comes to the door but doesn't open it, just talks to me through the glass like I'm some kind of stranger. She said they can't have someone in the house who would attack a pregnant abuse victim asking for help. She said I need to decide if being right is more important than being family. She wouldn't even let me get my stuff. Said I can think about it for a while, and maybe when I'm ready to apologize and support Amy through this difficult time, we can talk about me moving back in. I'm standing on the porch watching through the window as they all sit down for Sunday dinner without me. Amy's there with her bruised shoulder, probably telling them more stories about what a horrible person I am for not immediately offering to hide her from the consequences of her own choices. So now I'm staying with my roommate temporarily and trying to figure out what the hell to do next. I've been completely cut off from my family for refusing to comfort my sister about experiencing the exact abuse I tried to warn everyone about. The thing that really gets me is how they flipped the whole story. Now I'm the person who attacks pregnant abuse victims instead of, the person who tried to prevent this from happening. Like my 14 months of being right about Derek just disappeared, and now I'm the monster for not being supportive enough when he finally did exactly what I said he would do. My parents spent thousands of dollars. They didn't have to marry my sister to my abuser, and when he inevitably hurt her the way he hurt me, they changed the locks to keep me out for not being sympathetic enough about it. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do with that. How do you process your family literally locking you out for being right in the worst possible way? Edit. Since people are asking about my living situation, my roommate is being amazing and letting me stay on her couch while I figure things out. I'm looking into campus housing, but the waiting list is long and expensive. My campus job barely covers food and gas, so I'm pretty much screwed financially without my parents' help, which they obviously know. To those saying, I should have been more supportive when my sister called, honestly, I probably could have handled it better, but I was so angry about months of being called a liar that I just snapped. 14 months of them treating me like I was making up the abuse for attention. And then she calls crying about the exact same abuse and expects me to just, what? Pretend it's shocking. For people asking why I don't just call the police about Amy's situation, she specifically asked me not to tell anyone what really happened and just say it was adjustment issues. She's now about 14 weeks pregnant and clearly not ready to admit that everyone was wrong about Derek. Plus, my parents would probably blame me for causing more problems if I got authorities involved. And yeah, I know how fucked up it is that they changed the locks. I've been their daughter for 23 years, but apparently being right about my sister's husband makes me too dangerous to have around. The same parents who felt guilty about not protecting me from Derek are now protecting him from me having any contact with their precious golden child.